England. Those English bands were sent over here by Tavistock to run those mind control experiments. Um, when you see it in the MK Ultra, they talk about the American bands, and they talk about the influence of LSD in the music of Jimi Hendrix, and the influences of heroin and some of the others like Janis Joplin and like that. And they talked about how that when they use those particular drugs, they are able to tap into a frequency in their mind that allows them to download more artistic expressions on a broader range. So this is why Jimi Hendrix was able to be so innovative when he was using the LSD. He was taking those acid trips and he was bringing the music back. Now, if you go back and research Mozart, Mozart used to sit in meditation and hear the entire symphony play, and then he'd go write it down. And then he'd come back and they say it was the greatest music. The same with the other greats like Bach and Beethoven. They all was using what they call hermetic harmonics in order to download what they call the songs of the spheres, which are different tones that's made by the different spheres or realms of creation, what they call the dimensions. Each dimension has its own vibration. And when they tap into that, they're able to bring that into a musical symphony, so to speak. This is the same place where you get great poets like Arthur Rimbaud and Khalil Gibran and Augmandino is a great like little short story writers. Those they all draw that higher knowledge of expression and filter it through the right brain in order for it to become artistic. And they call those masters. So when you're reading the work of the masters, it's like when you're reading Bacon, it's not the same as reading Anne Rice. Anne Rice is a good writer, but she's no Francis Bacon. And then you have those that's so technical that has no, like Blavatsky's work will make a PhD shake his head like, man, how is she doing this if she didn't have an education on that level? And they all tap into that energy grid. So your mind work like a computer is to distract you from what's going on at home by pointing you overseas. That's the chess game. That's the distraction. It's like they slap you and then they point down the street like it's that person down the street that did it. Look, he over there. So you daze a little bit and you looking, you ain't quite figured it out yet. So I'm just gonna go on and point it out to you. It's a distraction from something. Don't trust it. He don't tell you America need to put sanctions on China. No, America need to figure out what's going on in America. That's what they need to do before they go over there messing with them people. What you want more of, cuz? They give more. Ask a question. But yeah, I put in the question format. I don't know what you want me to answer. Um, if you ask a question, then we can take it from there. Um, anytime you have a bully on the playground, right? Um, all of the people see the bully on the playground, but don't nobody want to address it because he's the bully. So they run and get the bully to stop the new bully. It don't make no sense. Stop him from picking, and then him and the new bullies both scared each other, so they become friends and they be bullies together. You got to deal with what's in front of you before you deal with what's down the street from you. And different people have different levels of responsibility, so they have to handle things differently. Um, these levels of responsibility determines how many people is affected by the moves they make. Um, so um, Pay attention to how they point you in the political arena, because most of it is to distract you from the underlying agenda. The underlying agenda has always been conquest. Um, the American presidential seat has been an interim seat, and it has expired. And that's why you didn't have any flags at the Republican convention, no American flag, because they already know that the contract has expired on the treaty. And the treaty was for a specific amount of time, and that's why they had to have the seals in place to show you all of the signs. So you had to be able to see how the contract was being followed, meaning following the money. The money is the mark that traces back to the beast. The beast is in the Vatican, and you call him the Pope. The cat's paw that he used is the Queen of England. See, they used the barristers in the judicial system. See, Judah is the judicial system. And the bar means sun. So you got the Bar Association, or the Association of the Sun. You know, so it all ties back to those biblical references. The 12 banks or 13 banks, they all tie into the tribes of Israel in order to match up with what it say in that book. They did it on purpose. It's not an accident. They did it on purpose, and they did it in our face. And they got the tribes broke up, and it show you that the 13 colonies was not just the East Coast, but when they did the treaty agreement, it was an agreement between the Iroquois Federation. Some of us know today's info. So what type of solutions? Tavistock Institute of Humanism, Conditioning, Mind Control. Tavistock was they was instrumental in the MK Ultra program, and they was the part of the MI5 division in the mind control game. So Tavistock was behind the creation of the Beatles because they wanted to know if certain tones in the music would affect the central nervous system and influence the children to behave in a frenzy. So they experimented with certain musical notes and musical frequency at Tavistock in the 40s and 50s, and then they came out with the Beatles as a test pilot. They followed that up by doing supporting music for other major rock bands like the Stones. Most of those ones that came from England, those English bands were sent over here by Tavistock to run those mind control experiments. When you see it in the MK Ultra, they talk about the American bands, and they talk about the influence of LSD in the music of Jimi Hendrix, and the influences of heroin and some of the others like Janis Joplin and like that. And they talked about how that when they use those particular drugs, they are able to tap into a frequency in their mind that allows them to download more artistic expressions on a broader range. So this is why Jimi Hendrix was able to be so innovative when he was using the LSD. He was taking those acid trips, and he was bringing the music back. Now, if you go back and research Mozart used to sit in meditation and hear the entire symphony play, and then he'd go write it down. And then he'd come back and they say it was the greatest music. The same with the other greats like Bach and Beethoven. They all was using what they call hermetic harmonics in order to download what they call the songs of the spheres, which are different tones that's made by the different spheres or realms of creation, what they call the dimensions. Each dimension has its own vibration. And when they tap into that, they're able to bring that into a musical symphony, so to speak. This is the same place where you get great poets like Arthur Rimbaud and Khalil Gibran, and Augustine is a great like little short story writers. Those, they all draw that higher knowledge of expression and filter it through the right brain in order for it to become artistic. And they call those masters. So when you're reading the work of the masters, it's like when you're reading Bacon, it's not the same as reading Anne Rice. Anne Rice is a good writer, but she's no Francis Bacon. And then you have those that's so technical that has no, like Blavatsky's work will make a PhD shake his head like, man, how is she doing this if she didn't have an education on that level? And they all tap into that energy grid. So your mind works like a computer. You got RAM, which is your short-term memory. Then you got your hard drive or your mainframe, which is your long-term memory. And then you have the World Wide Web, which is your universal mind. Once you overload your RAM, then you start working from your hard drive. But then once you got everything organized in your hard drive is filled, you have to you would need a broader space, so you got to move up into the cloud. And this is what they call your ascension. When you start to allow the universal mind to filter through your brain, you become more than just a regular person. You know, so this is what the frequencies and tones that they experimented with at Tavistock. More recent was the rapper that got murdered named XXXTentacion or whatever his name is. He had started tapping into certain frequencies in which he told him about it. And when he tapped into these frequencies, they told him not to use those frequencies because they wake people up. He didn't want him to use those frequencies. And so he was marked for death from that point on. So however they made it look is how they made it look. Whether he really did or not remains to be seen, because a lot of them that become marked for death, they got a plan B. Just so y'all know, a lot of them that's marked for death and we think they're gone, they had a plan B all the time. So at this point, from a standpoint of higher wisdom, we can't fall for the misdirection. We can't let them undermine what we're doing with trying to move into a more functional humanity, for the sacrifice and the trying to stay in these lower vibrations and these lower frequencies of the animal nature. I'm gonna make sure I touched on everything in that one. Anything else, cuz? Yeah, the Tavistock, MK Ultra, went into the mind control game. Locks and triggers. Locks and triggers is part of the mind control game too. And they work like, they also call them anchors. So if you watch that movie with Mel Gibson, Conspiracy Theory, I think it's called, where he sees certain things that make certain light bulbs go off in his head. That's called locks and triggers. So one of the most popular lock trigger mechanisms was a book called The Catcher in the Rye. And it was real easy to use that book because of the written style of it to install the locks and triggers. And that's why all of the assassins had multiple copies of it, because it became an irresistible impulse. Wherever they seen the book, they had to get it. So you look at serial killers that had copies of it. You look at assassins that had copies of it. You know, like that. So the locks and the triggers is how they set them off. Sometimes they'll call them up and say a phrase on the phone, and the hypnosis will click their assassin on. They'll go out and do some dirt and don't never know they did it. And they be wondering why they're sitting in prison for the rest of their life and they never knew what they did. Because they activated their altar. The hard part is trying to find out if you have an altar. Because it's some of us that they've been programming with multiple personalities since children, and we don't even know it. They did it in the school systems, and some of them they even did it in the hospitals, where they use certain mind control techniques to give us an alter ego that they can activate for their own purposes whenever they want to, drive us insane and make us go off the handle. Just the fact that we even question the idea make it more likely for us to discover whether we have an altar implanted or not. You know, so most people don't got an altar, but some people do. And they'll know that certain things ain't right, but they won't know what it is, and they'll never be able to explain it where anybody can understand it, because they're looking from two different, distinctly different personalities. One is absolutely sociopathic, and the other one is regular, empathic, um, um, caring, forget giving, and all of that. But the altar is sociopathic, has no regard for anything, worse than entitlement. You know, so when they click it in, he just gonna do the job. So that's how they program it. The references for those mind control assassin was a hypnotist by the name of Esther Brooks, who worked in the MK Ultra program, and he wrote extensively on how he had discovered ways to turn people into hypno assassins and to use it for espionage purposes and various things. He laid it all out for everybody to know. He was the original hypnotist. He was recruited into the MK Ultra program because he was the best in the world at the time, and he was from this country. He was born over here. So they decided to use his work as the controlling work for the MK Ultra hypno assassin program. We call them Manchurian candidates now, because that's what they were. The whole Manchurian candidate thing was predicated on that. You know, so don't fall for that look overseas stuff. When they tell us to look overseas, say, no, let's look right here in our backyard. Tell them to look in their own backyard before they start telling us to look overseas. We ain't finna go for that. And that's how countries go to war over some foolishness. Like Vietnam over a $1 bet. Come on, between billionaires. Send all them kids off to get blowed to smithereens. Can't do that to people. And so, I'm going to wrap this one up. I don't got no more questions popping up on the screen. Dealt with the audacity, ignorance, MK Ultra, Tavistock, Esther Brooks. We dealt with the misdirection of the politicians to make us look overseas instead of at home. So we covered a nice little bit of base. What's up, God? Covered a nice little bit of basis today. Hey Zoe, can you hit me up? I need to know if I could come pick them programs up so I could do some work. And I needed one more thing. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, and we can review this information later. So thank y'all for being interested in what I had to say. I just want y'all to pay attention to what's going on around y'all, so y'all can't be fooled. And keep your eyes open and don't fall for the shenanigans and the misdirection. And don't be surprised at the audacity of ignorance. I'm gonna do some invites here. We're gonna do a little discussion on Black history, and we're gonna find out what Black history is really all about from the science of Black history. This is kind of clever. So when you look at various things around the world, we begin to develop a bird's eye view and see things a little different. The more you expose to, the broader your vision become. The more you're able to see, and the more you're able to decipher. So as you go through these varying degrees of awakening, you get to see the language that's been concealed right over your head. So I'm gonna do a couple more invites here, and we're gonna get off into Black History. This one is for Carter G, Miseducation of the Negro, founder of Negro History Week, which became Black History Month. So we're gonna do this from miseducation to education. The awakening the genius of the black child, Amos N. Wilson, Blueprint for Black Power. We gonna do this one for him. We gonna do this one for the unveiling of the psychopathic racial personality by Bobby Wright. We gonna show you that the people are functional by understanding the essence of black history. When we do that, as Maurice Bishop did in Grenada, when they said he couldn't accomplish these things, and he managed, Maurice Bishop regime managed to do in a short period of time what nobody else had accomplished in years prior to his little short reign before the CIA executed him. He was a threat to the stability of the Zionist power structure, as in the brother who did the lectures to get the secret relationship between blacks and Jews into university for study. Then I want you to know about the secret relationship between the blacks and the Jews. Because wherever you find blacks at in history, Jews is walking among them. But who the fuck is the Jews? The Zionists. They tell you that the protocols of the wise men of Zion is a fallacy, that it is a artificial construct, a fictional paper written. But upon further analysis, when you analyze it, every aspect of the document is what every aspect of Zionist control. Well, now we need to find out who the fuck is a Zionist and what the fuck is a Jew. So we go back in history and we run across a group of wise elders called the Moorish Zionist Temple. Well, they was holding certain blood rights in secret to keep us in bondage. They call it Babylonian money magic. So we know who they are, because we sent our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, in there to bring the secrets out in the open so we can level the playing field. We found a blueprint. When you had a blueprint to the building, then you can get into the makeup of the structure, and then you know best how to approach the situation. So I didn't did enough invites. So when we talk about black from the old dark land, the motherland, we don't talk about skin color, because we never referred to the skin color as black. You was a seed of the stars, or you was a seed of the moon, or you was a seed of the sun. And they all had different functions and different purposes within the priestly order that was laid out by a totem system. If you don't know your history, you cut off from the roots of who you are. So when you look at like the voodoo, they tell us that voodoo is bad, but we brought it over here with us when we came from the motherland, if that story is in fact true, which I have reason to doubt. Because one of them ships packed like that would be a gas chamber and kill everybody in there within a week, because it'd be filled with their urine and the feces, and it'd form of gas or methane so strong that it would suffocate them. So that packed in the boat like a sardine bullshit don't fly with me. It don't make sense. It defies logic and reason at every fucking level. You can't vent it the way that the ships was made. You couldn't vent it fast enough. And they haven't been able to produce one of these fucking sardine can ass ships that's supposed to have been the slave ship. So I ain't going with that, because me and my people was already fucking here. We was indigenous to the land before they came. What we don't know hurts us the most. Martin said, now remember, this is a black history lesson for us, right? So you share it under black history so people understand that we breaking ground on before we was fucking Africans and before we was understood as indigenous. We was the spirit of the earth spirit walking flesh. We didn't divide ourselves up. Somebody else done that to us. We weren't divided. We was one earth family. So now that we got it all laid out, it is what it fucking is. We finna get into what we mean when we call it the black. Dr. Richard King talk about the black dot. And if you don't understand what the black dot is, you lost. Because the black dot is the gateway of consciousness within the human body. And you have to align certain energy points a certain way in order to be able to line the black dot up. It's like looking through a peephole. It's where you can look from your spiritual eye through your physical form in order to see through all the bullshit. You already know everything there is to know, but these systems are cutting you off from the knowledge of self. So we're going to get into some of the knowledge of self, and we're going to understand when we say black, what are we really talking about? So when you look in the description, you see where it say, it's talking about the noon, N-U-N. In Kemetic science or Egyptian science, however you want to say it does not matter to me. I'm not that picky, as long as you get the point. So in Egyptian science, the noon is what you see when you look in the sky and you see those stars piercing through that dark. That's the noon. The modern science call it dark matter. They call it chaos matter. It's flipped out as 3 6s in carbon, which formulate the melanin molecule on the mark of the beast. Right? So they wanted us to forever be subjugated by ignorance, because it's only the ignorance and the knowledge of self what keeps us subjugated. So they tell you don't study voodoo, but that's your history. That's your spirit science. But you cut yourself off from it. But your ancestors were smarter than the average fucking bear. Watch what they did. They knew that the Bible was stolen legacy, with portions of it put in there out of order in order to confuse the masses as to what's taking place in the book. Right? So, the ancestors knew if they lined certain voodoo ritual up under the structure of the church, tied in with the knowledge that we already have on our DNA code, it will wake some of us up at a varying rate until it have what they call a knock-around trickle-down effect. It's like a Plinko chip. It's like the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington, or the song 24 Hours to Live with DMX and the Locks, where it's passed. And as it gets passed from one master to the next master, it gets stronger and stronger until it meet somebody that did the most work, that can assimilate the full energy field of the master's energy. Right? So, but he had to do a lot of fucking work. So that you do the most work so that you can be in the position to do the most good. So this is the black history lesson Carter G. Woodson episode. And so when we go into who we are and we talk about the black, then we talk about the sun, Ra, and we talking about those little dots that you see piercing out through the darkness are suns at varying rates of distance, in which the distance gives the effect of shrinkage, so that the suns that's at a far distance has to still peek through the dark, just like you have to line your black dot up. When you line your black dot up, now let's understand the black dot. When you go into the neurosciences and you understand the way the brain is structured and how consciousness is assimilated through the neural network for the whole brain, you understand that consciousness begins in the physical form at what they call the reticular formation at the base of the brain, where they got what is called a pons region. The reticular formation is what they call a nerve ganglia or a nerve cluster. It's where a whole bunch of nerves meet. It's an energy center of the physical form. Now, once you understand where the black dot is, you need to know how to line it up and with what. Well, you can't line it up using regular cerebral spinal fluid because it'll make the what they call the murky waters. So you would be like looking at a out of water at a thing that's slightly off. So you're slightly off in your vision. You need the gold elixir, which serves as your internal focal glasses. Now the gold elixir is what they call the sacred secorium or the sacred secretion. Now we finna wake the black up. You black motherfucker. This is how we do it. So by formulating left and right hemisphere balance, your brain is no longer beating one-sided, where it can only pull up the lighter cerebral spinal fluid of the water. Now you can pull up the gold elixir, the elixir of life. But you got a quadrant of chambers in the brain, and the brain pumps like the heart. Now imagine if only half of your heart was pumping. How would your body feel? Now, you've been living your whole life with only half of your brain pumping. Either you was creative and you only used your right brain, or you was analytical and you only used your left brain. But when you balance the two out, you become a little bit different in your function, because the gold elixir begin to rise like a mercury in a thermostat going up, right? And so when this happens, when that gold elixir gets to the four chambers of the brain, it starts to push that clear liquid out. It come out your nose, tears, ears, drain in your throat, because it got to go somewhere, but it can't stay up there because it's too thin now. Now you have a thicker liquid. Now your lenses is lined up. Your glasses are on. Now you have sight beyond sight. You can see the deception clear as day as long as you don't allow your ego to get in the way. Your ego becomes an extra dark tint at night on your glasses, because your ego is designed by the external factors around you that created the definition of the person that you live under the name that you carry. And that's why people have the urge to change their name. So even in spiritual schools, you go through various name changes in order to facilitate the growth of the person and to take on a new persona of person. So this is why you see Master Muhammad with multiple names, and you see Elijah Muhammad had multiple names. I'm showing that his levels of development varied and grew. So this is why we talk about black history. So now, once that gets up there, you activate what they call your pineal gland. Your pineal gland arcs to your pituitary gland. Then you have what they call the second puberty, or the awakening, or the rebirth. The rebirth of the person now takes place because it's finna burn off all of the bullshit. And it's gonna hurt emotionally. Physically, you're going to probably have some symptoms too, but it's going to hurt like a motherfucker emotionally. And so now that you became awake, you can see the language that they've been talking in front of your face, behind your back all the time. They've been talking over your head like parents do children when they don't want them to learn some information at too early of an age. They use code to talk over the child's head, spell the word out in varying things. These people been talking over our heads for 400 and something years, thinking that they was going to keep us in perpetual servitude. But Carter G. Woodson said, if you train a motherfucker to do something, he gonna do exactly what he trained to do. So they use the Pavlovian response, the Skinner box, and all that shit to take our minds away. Because if you lose your mind, you lose your soul, because you don't know how to awaken the self within. And the only way to lose your mind is to be dominated by the ego. How my people doing? So now, when we go into the black, what does it mean? It's the primordial waters is what it's called when you look at the definition. The primordial waters of creation. It's the infinite chaos. It's the chaos theory. Whatever work, use it no matter where you get it from. Never let anything serve as your defeat. Use all things as a tool to your victory. We have been allowing these people to subjugate us by our ignorance, not by our desire to be subjugated. You know, so they say that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The only reason that the flesh is weak because the mind is ignorant. So if you know black history, you know the history of creation. Now, black history goes back to the noon. That's the black. Alchem is what it's called. So the science of this is alchemy, or chemistry now in modern days. Why would chemistry in black be associated? Because you need to know how you work so you can know how to work your machine, this meat motor. We are a star in a human body asleep. Once you become awakened, there is nothing that can subjugate you but yourself. Because anything outside of you pales in comparison of what's inside of you. Because it's what's inside of you is so fucking great. You got the warring soul, as W.E.B. Du Bois called it. Go back to the souls of black folks and he tell you about the inner conflict between the ego, the self that need to fit in with the social structure, and the true self. He's giving you the science. Our elders talk to us, but the children don't listen no more. So somebody got to wake up and tell them the history and tie it all together. It ties back to the beginning, before time, when there was nothing but the black, alchem. An alchemist arose, master of the day of judgment. He who is able to balance all things from all angles. He gonna win this fucking knockaround game and give y'all the facts and tell you how it work. Tell you how to break from the motherfucking bondage and servitude. So this is how you do it. Smoke and mirrors. If you don't remember Tupac, which I know everybody do, Tupac had a slogan he used to say all the time, and it's so true. And that slogan is real eyes, realize, real lies. Say it again. I'm going to say it a little slower this time. And I don't got much battery, so I'm going to do a couple more invites, then I'm just going to dive off into this. Real eyes, realize the real lies. Now, people will write you off to condemn you quickly on some BS, but on something righteous, they don't want no parts of helping you do nothing righteous. They'd rather condemn you on some jargon, some foolishness, than to actually tell you what's real. So I'm gonna get into it because I don't have enough invites. So I'm gonna go here and wave at y'all right quick. So the thing is this: there's an old Native American legend. Come here, Bronx. And the legend is about the Great Father. And let me show y'all this: the Great Father and his black dog walking this land. You see that black dog? That right there is Bishop Bronx Black Magic. And that's the black dog that they speak of in the legend. And you looking at the Great Father they speak of in the legend. And the only way you gonna know is I have to have a fabricated opposition to who I am. And those pursuing to undermine what's righteous with wickedness, selfishness, and greed. Self-centered behavior that's not conducive to righteousness. These are the ones who have to show themselves. They have to show themselves for the simple fact that in order for y'all to see the difference between the real and the fake, right? In order for y'all to see the difference, you got to have a comparative analogy. You have to put two things side by side to look at them to see if there's any truth involved in it, right? So, the legend of the black dog and the Great Father is only in a few native cultures where they speak of this, but it's there. In other cultures, they don't call him the black dog or the Great Father. They call him the golden arrow. And the golden arrow in Africa is called a flaming spear. And the flaming spear in India is a staff that Lord Hanuman carries, which is the same as the oversized staff that Sun Wukong in China carry. So now, when all of these legends converge at one time in the energy grid on one person at his birth, it produces an effect. But nobody can know who this one person is until such time as this one person make himself known. So you got a lot of people out there caught up in the mythologies or the unknown aspect, or the false aspect, I should say. They get caught up in thinking that everything they read is what it say on the face. In law, that's called a prima facie, meaning on the face. Prima facie. So a case in law might be a prima facie case. I mean, on the surface, it looked like a real case. They got your ass to the left, right? Well, that's just on the face of the case. Now, this is the purposes of judiciaries and things of that nature. And the purpose is this. When you start digging into the case and you pick that motherfucking shit apart and you find out it's a house of cards, then the prima facie case is false. So now all of those who line up to condemn a righteous person, you see it all the time, but this is the era where you can't condemn righteous people no more without a consequence. The consequence is directly related to your actions and deeds. It's not related to supposition, guesswork, or any of that. Your actions and your deeds, and whether you can be swayed from what you know to be true in favor of falsehood. So we had to crack this conundrum of people going to prison, falsely accused, getting out 40 and 30 years later when they have no life left. So when you watching people do something to you, you know they doing it. They don't believe that you know they doing it. They don't believe it. They believe you so fucking insane and so crazy that you can't read every move they making. Like, you don't see those snotty looks that you get. You don't see people deny you food when you fed them when they was hungry. They know you hungry because you ain't had no food because you ain't bought none because they looking at it. They'll go out and feed themselves and 50 other motherfuckers but won't feed the motherfucker that feed them. That's not righteous. The motherfuckers will ask you to do them favors out of the kindness of your heart, and you do it because that's who you are in righteousness. You do things from the kindness of your heart. But all the time, they plot. They know a kind-hearted and loving person always gonna fall for certain things related to the love. So they gonna pull on their heartstrings in order to destroy them. So the thing that they love the most are the things that you use to destroy them. Now, what's the remedy? Because law, you always got a remedy. When somebody fabricates something, makes something up, expose it. And my mama used to tell me when I was a little boy, baby, don't never dig a ditch for nobody, because if you dig one ditch, you got to dig two, because you subject to fall in the first one. And I sit back like I do, and I don't say nothing. And people take my silence as ignorance and insanity. Then when I started to speak up and tell them, motherfucker, you wrong. I don't care what you say, you wrong. I'm not without fault, because it's a hard journey under oppression to raise yourself up to a level where you can clean up an entire millennium or more, maybe multiple millenniums of dirt. And you got to clean it up. Can't nobody do it but you, because you're the only one that laid it all on the line for it. So you're the only one can close the door on the evil. None of the rest of them can do it, and they mad and jealous and envious and all of the underhanded and slimeball things that people do. They do those things out of spite, out of misplaced sense of entitlement. You shouldn't get this. You don't deserve it. I do. No matter what work they watch you do, you don't deserve it. No matter how hard you work your fingers to the bone, you don't deserve it over them, and they don't work and won't work. Work is prescribed for man. You got to understand that. Struggle is prescribed for superior man. Now, you can say what you want, think what you want, move how you want. Everybody don't overlook what you think they do. But sooner or later, somebody was going to have to expose the lies and the liars. And they was going to have to expose how these people end up coming up with this fabricated scheme. And since they do that, they expect you to just fall for anything. Or like, look, they think that just because you smile and you say hi, that means you friendly. Get the fuck out of here. I ain't friendly. I ain't no damn fool. My mama didn't raise no fool. She might have raised a whole lot of stuff in me. I might have made a whole lot of errors growing up. I might have fell down more than most. I might have been a little more clumsier than most. I might have been a little less social than most. But a master do everything for an effect. So now, it's cleanup time. I done already cleaned all that up there. It's clean. This stuff gonna be a cakewalk, because the truth got to come out in order for the lies to be obliterated. So now one of them, when she whispered in my ear and said, all they want is you. Look at the picture. The Last Supper. She whispered in his ear, All they want is you. And she's about to tell it to you herself as soon as I start cleaning this mess up. She gonna tell you what she told me. Y'all gonna see it with your own eyes. You got to remember what I started with. The real eyes realize the real lies. Falsehood is not greater than truth. Fear is not stronger than love. And intimidation don't work on the righteous. You can't intimidate us, threaten us, browbeat us. We're not going to bow down no more. We done with that. That era is over. Got to understand that. That era of bowing down to oppression, subjugation, tyranny, wickedness, the whole regime is over. I'm about to run their ass out of here. Y'all been waiting long enough. But I had to do it. I had to follow the process in order to establish the skill set required to face the opposition. It wasn't that y'all was neglected. But when you waking up, you have to go in stages and degrees of waking up, or you will literally explode. In science, they call it spontaneous human combustion. You can look it up. I'm not finna spontaneous combust because I know what I'm doing. I'm clear. I have psychological evaluations to verify that my sanity is intact. I'm clear. I'm more clear than 99.9% of people on this planet. And my mama ain't raised no fool, once again. And she always said, fret not thyself because of evildoers. Why would I? I just crushed their ass. The only problem with crushing them this time is she told me that's the only way to get the keys to the kingdom if you give everybody that's righteous and all of those people who was denied the access to the righteousness to become righteous. She said, then you will have earned the keys to the kingdom. I earned everything I got as a man and something more. I worked for it. I earned it. I didn't ask for a handout. I didn't even ask for a hand up. But as I climbed up, everybody on my path, I reached my hand to uplift them with me, and they kicked me back down. They kicked me back in the dirt. So I'm good with that. I ain't no crybaby. I just want to see that when everything play out, who is who, what is what, what's real, what's not. Y'all finna get real proof of the realm of the spirit being stronger than the deception of the physical. These same people, right, the same motherfuckers that think they righteous while they do their wickedness, don't even know what the fuck they are. They don't even know that they are a whole light being trapped in a physical form by science. They don't know that. Scientifically, you trapped by science. Not by God, by science. See, because everything is predicated upon law. The whole universe is predicated upon law. And the law has to establish and maintain order. When the chaos comes, it is the responsibility of the righteous to establish order from that chaos. E pluribus de unum. From many comes one. From many comes one. This is all cleaning up a Babylonian destruction of the human family years ago. Y'all can be on the side of the righteous, or y'all can walk with the indignation of the wicked. It really don't matter to me. I earned every fucking thing I got from A to Z. I have nothing I did not earn. I worked. Because work is prescribed for man. But People feel because I have things that I worked for that they should have and they have not worked. I should be destroyed at all costs. It's not gonna happen. I earned my rank, title, and position. You got to understand that. I earned it. I worked. I worked as a man and I worked to become more than a man. It's not easy. The task is hard. It's an unconquerable foe before us, and I've destroyed him because I raised myself the hard way. I fell down on path. But if I didn't fall down, I wouldn't have knew how to raise myself up to the next level. So I had no fear of that. I never lose. I might slip up a little bit, back up, shift to the side. I'm not going to lose. Even when you think I lost, I ain't losing. I'm going to find a way to use whatever you think it is to my advantage in order for people to not have to be treated like trash. And it's like when Mama first came to me talking to me about the drama. She said, baby, they got them people over there and they just throw them away like trash. They can't just throw people away. Look at how they got their bodies disformed and disfigured with their science. And you the only one can fix it. I said, Mama, they ungrateful, entitled in their minds, closed in their hearts. They can't hear the truth and they can't see what's real. She said, if you do what you're supposed to do, you can show them the way. I said, you're the only person that can ask me to lay my life down and save these ungrateful, rotten ass people. But for you, I do it. Because I don't really care about holding the keys to the kingdom. Because I don't really care about what that represents. I care about the welfare of the people. Who care about the people? Who care about the widows? Who care about the children? You see, everybody talking about they care about their child and then they corrupt their own child and blame it on somebody else. They corrupt their own children and blame it on somebody else. Because they don't want to be held accountable for their own deeds and actions. They shit, not mine, theirs. Right? So they want me to take the fall again like they did the last time, but there won't be no resurrection this time because I already got the keys to the kingdom. That's what y'all not understanding. So no weapon formed against the son of righteousness is going to prosper this time. You know, they had their run of wickedness and treachery and evil. And I don't know when it's going to cut off, but I might just run to my phone cut off. But somewhere along the line, a man sees something wrong, need to fix it as a man. And my mama always told me, yea, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thine art with me. Thy rod, as I am, and his staff will comfort thee all the days of their lives. So, I got a big job. It's real big. But I already cracked the uncrackable code that only one motherfucker was going to ever raise himself up high enough to crack. And there's only one person that gave it all for everybody. Gave it all for everybody. And they thought they was going to stop it. They thought they was going to put a monkey wrench in the program. They thought that they was bigger and badder than the... In short order, with no bulldozers, no heavy lifting equipment, how the fuck they build them?
First of all, I'll just say this. The Masons of the past and the Masons now, whatever they building ain't even close. The motherfuckers who built shit back in the day knew what the fuck they was doing. These motherfuckers, everything is a square. So I ain't that impressed with whatever America and all of them in the Industrial Revolution knocked that shit down to try to build and be like, ooh, look what we did. Fuck that. Your shit ain't lasting like our shit.
So the move right now, 2022, hashtag Free Larry Hoover, bust their algorithm, hit them in the pockets, and make them have to answer to us.
Do y'all
Just as simple
understand
as
the
that.
hashtags out in TikTok? It need to be flooding on TikTok. Explain what's going on. And creativity, like the hashtag and what it means in their algorithm. If they can't equate it to money and it blows up to 1 million views, they gotta report on that shit. They gotta sit there and say, what the hell is this going on? The media
Because
will.
they can't get no money out of the Free Larry Hoover hashtag. They can't monetize it because it's not tied to an advertising agency or a business.
Corporate number, nothing. No Bitcoin,
Right.
nothing. It's just
So
love energy.
it's gonna make them react. They're gonna scream. That's the goal. Make
Especially if
them
the numbers
motherfuckers
are
holler.
high in the millions on all the platforms. Twitter, blow it up. I'm about to do
Yeah.
something every day. Be creative. I've been creative lately, but quiet.
Right. So start asking people from with other platforms to participate. Right. If any of them want to discuss it, I'm willing to come on their platform and discuss it and answer any questions they got, no matter how difficult they may be. Whether I like it or don't like it, I still got to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I won't ask you about the matriarchy because you did a video yesterday. So
Yeah. The matriarchy definitely is tied to the Free Larry Hoover movement.
we support it.
So that's why you see all these sisters are starting to catch on faster than the brothers. Right? But as long as the sisters catch on, the brothers gonna come. Because they don't want to be the ones that the sisters say, nigga, you had the opportunity to help us to free Larry Hoover and to free all of the people of the land, and you sat on your hands talking about you was woke, telling us about ships, ain't telling us nothing about how to get free. Problems require solutions, you know. But everybody want to talk about something that's not the big problem.